Hi, good morning there, YouTube friends and subscribers. Today I want to talk about a book that I just got. I ordered it probably about a week ago. I guess it was out of print. And yes, I got the printed version of it, not the ebook. And this is written by Bill Alford, and it's off-grid legally from Bill and Rose's off-grid solar cabinet fame. And it's a handy book, a guide, more than a how-to. And I think it'll really get your mind thinking about some of these things you have to go through if you're trying to live a similar lifestyle. And some of the things that are touched on here, and I made a little cheat sheet so I wouldn't forget. 2 weeks ago, I went out in northern Florida to look for some property, and I looked at a lot of properties that were supposedly restriction-free, no restrictions, which turned out not to be true. And you really have to do your research and press the questions and get in touch with your counties and such, because you don't want to have a surprise later. And a lot of times I was told, well, this is on the books and it's a rule, but it's not enforced. I wouldn't worry about it. My experience with that is, if it's on the books, even if it's not being enforced, at some point in time they can indeed do that. So I think that would cover the rules and regulations aspect of this. And also, as far as doing this off-grid or homesteading lifestyle, there are also some adult rules that would pertain if you didn't have children, and some of the rules are totally different if you have children living in your off-grid cabin or home or whatever it may be, homesteading. And it also briefly touches, I wouldn't say briefly, but again, it's not a how-to book. It goes into the aspects of solar power, wind power, generator versus utilities. And the whole point behind this is to kind of get off all the monthly payments, so your water bills, your utility bills and such, and that's what I'm looking to do. It also goes into the rights you have as a homeowner. Sometimes you'll think that if you buy the land, that whatever is on the land, or more importantly under the land, which would be your water rights and your mineral rights, that's something else you need to check into, because you don't necessarily, in certain states or portions of the country, and it's more and more frequent, you don't own the water even though it's on your property. So that's something worth looking into. And I got friends that live in Kansas, and they brought this up to me as well, because I guess some places out there you don't own what they call the mineral rights. That's another thing to look into. When you're buying your land, it's a good idea to look into the type of land that what you want to use your land for. If you're going to have livestock, are you going to try to have a garden, things such as that? Can you do it there? Water, it touches on water. How are you going to get your water? Different ways of producing your water, rain catchment systems, so on. All good points. Also touches on your gray water, which would be like your sink and bath water. What you may have to do to either contain that or to eliminate the gray water waste from your particular property. And then it talks about the black water issue, which would be your toilet waste. Normally you would have to have a septic system or a leach field of some sort, and there are various ways around that. You could use composting toilets for an issue, and there's evaporation ponds, I guess, that are used for some gray water issues. And just more than I can really touch on here is all laid out for you in this book. And something else I was probably going to miss was there are some really good websites in here for you to check out the states you may be interested in. There's also, I think, like 9 states in here listed, I could be mistaken, that are kind of off-grid homestead friendly, and then that helps narrow down your search for your particular property. It's really easy when you get your mind set to go and actually jump in and do this, where you'd start looking at a piece of property, and sometimes the heart overrules the mind, and you might think it's a really good place for you to do this, and then sometime down the road you may find that there's a law or a statute somewhere that you didn't know about, and now you can't do what you had planned to do, and that can be a costly mistake. And it also touches on AC and DC power, the uses for inverters or generators on your homestead if you don't have any sustainable power. Touches again on solar power, obviously. And it also touches on the type of home you can have. Whether you're going to buy a place that has a homeowner already, are you going to build a home? Are you capable of building a home? Do you have the finances to do that? Could you maybe do a little cabin? I mean, there are a lot of different variables that need to be thought about. Again, brought up nicely in Bill's book here, Alford Legally. And another one that's important when you start delving into your laws of your state, along with everything I've just mentioned, I know it's very important for me. You know, do they have a castle law? Is it Second Amendment friendly? Are you allowed to have, you know, firearms to protect yourself? You know, can you shoot on your property? This was something I was looking into, and it was amazing, some of these wide open places where there was a law on the books of no discharging of firearms. Now that's pretty crazy, and something you probably wouldn't think of. But again, if it's on the books, even though they might not be enforcing it, they could somewhere down the road. And again, the websites he has in here are very helpful. You can go right to them for each section in the book generally and get an idea to more or less get your mind wrapped around how to think about doing this properly so you can avoid the pitfalls and mistakes that people make. I mean, I've made them. So, like I said, I bought the paperback version because it's a handy reference point. I can go in here when I'm out traveling and looking for something, or just pick it up and read it over and over again. It's a hard copy, that's why I bought it. That's why I didn't get the ebook. So anyway, I think it's another handy tool to have in your little toolbox if you're thinking about doing this off-grid or homesteading lifestyle. I recommend it. You can get it on Amazon. Just go to the Amazon.com and type in Off-Grid Legally. It'll pop right up and you can get the book, or you can get the ebook. And it's been helpful to me. There's a lot of things in here that I didn't have on my little list to go over that I never thought of. And Bill has lived it. They are living it. So I always tell people, if you want information, get it from someone who's doing it and not necessarily someone who's trying to sell you something, because there's always the incentive to make it happen, and it may not be in your best interest. So on that note, I think this is a worthy purchase, and maybe something you should think about. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up, and have a great Sunday afternoon. Bye-bye.